I regard John Kerry as a dog, an utterly low-life swine. He refused to answer questions about his membership in Skull and Bones. He led the charge for war in Libya, and he's been one of the biggest advocates for war in Syria, against the most legitimate regime in the entire Middle East. I have no doubt that he's one of the creators of ISIS. He's certainly one of the greatest advocates in favor of continuing to arm the terrorists in Syria, the so-called rebels. And when I see him sitting down with his granddaughter to sign a climate change bill, it doesn't inspire confidence. I have nothing against Leo, but again, he doesn't inspire confidence. So, what are we to think of these climate deals? Are they sincere? Well, these monsters do have grandchildren. It's not preposterous to suggest that they may be taking climate change seriously for the first time. And I think this article from the Los Angeles Times gives you a pretty big hint. The Saudis are talking about divesting from oil, 5% immediately, and explicitly anticipating that oil will be stopped in 2020. Now, the Saudis are idiots. And if these idiots see that the end of oil is coming and say so, you know that everybody sees that it's coming. I think you can safely bet that the Rockefellers and the American big oil ruling elite have divested themselves from oil. I don't mean the Koch brothers. They may be bigger idiots than the Saudis. They're certainly not members of the American ruling elite. So, I think there are 2 points that are extremely important to make from this article. One of them is that the ruling elite are no longer going to be killing all initiatives to stop global warming. They are no longer going to be defending the burning of fossil fuels because they don't give a crap about fossil fuels because they are divested from fossil fuels. Which is why you have monsters like Kerry sitting down in Paris and signing apparently meaningful agreements. So you want an investment tip? Invest in solar. But do you think these monsters are strictly invested in solar? Well, first of all, they had trillions invested in oil. There isn't enough room for their trillions in solar. They could buy every solar panel factory on the planet 100 times over. They have to be putting their trillions somewhere else. And where do you suppose they're putting it? The attacks in Paris and Brussels and San Bernardino are blatant, naked attempts to promote warfare between the Christian and Muslim cultures. Before Trump swept them all into the dustbin of history, all the other Republican candidates were huge advocates for war, screaming that this is the war of our time. This is Jeb Bush speaking hours after the Paris attacks. His analysis complete, his declaration of war ready, and his plan of attack in detail.
Governor Bush, obviously our hearts go out to people in Paris tonight.
This is a war being created by Islamic terrorists, and the mindset that, in our country at least, needs to change to recognize it for what it is. This is an organized effort to destroy Western civilization. We need to regarner the alliances, fortify those alliances, reconnect with our intelligence capabilities with our European allies, and engage in the Middle East to take out ISIS. If it's not them, there are other terrorist groups. This is the war of our time. This is the war of our time. This is the war of our time.
Well, betting on war may turn out to have been a bad investment. The American people are not buying war. They are not voting for war.
Tonight you said the Bushes lied about weapons of mass destruction. You referred to the...
Were there weapons of mass destruction? You know better than I do. The answer is no. And when Jeb said his brother protected us, the World Trade Center came down during his brother's reign. I mean, are people forgetting that?
And he said that that money would have been better spent fixing roads and building hospitals and schools in the U.S. My God, that's a socialist perspective. Now, it's a national socialist perspective, right? Screw the rest of the world, but let's make America great for all Americans. That's nationalist socialism. And just to remind you, when you abbreviate the word National Socialist, it comes out as Nazi. Trump is running as a Nazi and winning because anybody who's not an idiot thinks that society should be run for the benefit of all the members of the society and not the top 1/10 of 1%, and that's socialism.